to the podcast. I'm Tami. I'm your host. And so last week, we're just going to dive in. Maybe if I have time, remind me what um, ER, Lightning, and Urgent Care Center, remind me what those all have to do. Because it's not what you think. But I'll make a note so I tell you at the end kind of like what has been happening in my world over the last week. But last week we talked, the podcast was like, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. We've been programmed that it's easier just to tell me what to do and I'll just do it. And then we get in that habit, and we have been taught that for years and years and years, and we forget that we actually do have creative solutions, that some of the work that needs to be done is actually on the journey, and we're just do what someone else tells us to do. It feels off, it feels heavy, it feels hard, it feels like it doesn't quite align with what we know, because we didn't actually bring our core values, our priorities, our desires, our dreams, our God dream, our circumstances, the experience and wisdom and knowledge that we know. We did not actually bring that into the decision-making process. We wanted it to be done fast and easy. And we've been taught that if someone is the expert, they know better than I do. And I hope that you listen to that. I hope that I portrayed my heart in that. There's times that I'll finish the podcast and then I'll be like, oh, I should have said this, or I should have done this, or man, I hope that the point is through that God gave you a unique set of skills and talents and lenses and experiences and circumstances and trials and wisdom and knowledge and relationships, that all of these things give you insight, give you direction to the step you are supposed to take. And so that's what we're going to continue on today, because I promised you in the last episode that we would talk about, well, how can we start to, when we're not used to trusting our intuition or acting on our intuition, how can we do that? And so today I'm just going to share with you some easy things, some ways, and let's just talk about, what does it mean to trust your intuition? Because I know that we all have gut feelings. And let me bring a little bit of the Enneagram in here as well. I'm in the gut instinct. I'm Enneagram 1. And so there's 3 instincts. There's the gut, there's the heart, and then there's the head. So it's intuition, it's gut feeling. There's the heart, or the emotion, the feeling side. And then there is the thinking, or the logical side. So we've got all of those in us. However, depending on what Enneagram number you are, your whichever one is predominant. So mine is gut. So when I gut doesn't align, or there's something there, it's really loud. It's really loud. And if I'm not healthy, then I still may not pay attention to that. So just because it's my loudest instinct doesn't mean that it's easy for me or easy for others in the gut instinct, which is why, like the 9s, 8s, and 1s, which are the gut instinct, it's important that you actually follow this as well. So don't tune out. For 2s, 3s, and 4s that are heart, they get a feeling about things. So that's also kind of what I'm talking about and because even your heart, do you always listen to that and pay attention to that and follow what your heart is saying? And then for 5, 6, and 7s is thinking, and that logical, that thought is what is the strongest. And so do you listen to that part of your intuition? And do you intentionally ask the other instincts what their thoughts are. Meaning, if you are a gut person, do you actually ask yourself, what do I feel about this? Or what are my thoughts about this? For a long time, I did not ask myself that. And so the more I first recognize what is my gut saying. So you could, if heart's your first, what are my feelings about this? So embrace your strength first, but then invite the other instincts in. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? What is your gut saying? Okay, so we're clear there. I just wanted to share that because as we go, I'm going to start incorporating a little bit more of the Enneagram into the work because that's such an important part of my work. The understanding your core motivations, how your fears and motivations and desires all work together, and how they can all give you insight to why you're stressed or how you're feeling stressed. But so let's talk about trusting yourself. Now, I also know one of the things is it's like, well, Tami, I don't need to trust myself. I trust God. Yes, and I will definitely talk about that aspect. But for the most part, He does not give us 100% black and white, clear instructions for the most part. Maybe sometimes He does, and I'm really grateful when it's so clear what direction to go in or what the right decision is. But the thing is that you can, there's still things in play there that when He is talking to you, if you don't understand the lens you're listening to it, you may miss it. You may still don't have the confidence to act on it because there's other aspects at play. So the more we learn to trust and to invite our whole being into the conversation, into the decision making, that allows us to understand and trust ourselves a little bit better. So first, I want you to know that trusting your intuition, trusting yourself is actually a muscle. This is something that you actually have to work on. Just like going to the gym, you can't go to the gym and automatically lift 500 pounds. Like if that's your goal, you've got to work up, and maybe you've got to start with 3 pounds. If you want to go to the gym and I want to do 100 push-ups. If you've never done a push-up before, or if you're used to only doing 3 at a time, you're not going to bang out 100 right then, right? So think of this as a journey in itself, as a workout, as something that we can intentionally do to enhance our lives, enhance our decision making. And actually, as we're going, I have my notes because I have so many thoughts on this that I wanted to stay focused because I did not want to make this an hour-long, 3-hour-long, 5-hour-long video. One thing that I want to share, we'll plug this, is Shine membership. So in the Shine membership, there are stages, there are phases, there are steps that we take. And when we are in the first phase of the awakening awareness, which is the phase that we're actually just in November, we're actually going to start exploring that phase on the journey. If you want to know more about the stages and the paths, go to Facebook, go to Instagram, or go to my webpage. I'm in the process of changing web pages. So I would, even though TamiMarieCoaching.com will still good, there's still things on there. At this point, because I'm not spending so much time updating that, because I'm updating the new one, go to Instagram and go to Facebook. That's where you're going to see this. But I give you a description of the journey. And I'm calling it the Be the Light pathway for Shine members. So here we go. So trusting ourselves. So building this muscle. So the first thing we can do, and this is where we talk about in the first phase, is we need to start looking at what got us to where we are today. When you are trying to trust, when you're trying to build this muscle of trusting yourself, trusting your intuition, the first thing that you get to do is just look for evidence that you are an overcomer. Look for an evidence of things you've experienced in your life that you made the right decision. Also, look for evidence that you've said, I knew I should have done this. Write those down, write them out, and give yourself grace. Remember, judgment-free zone here. We did the best we can do at the time. Give yourself so much grace and get curious, because you're the Tami of yesterday is not the same Tami as today, because I'm constantly learning, I'm constantly growing, I'm constantly getting more information, understanding my path more, so I can make a better decision. I'm not the same mom I was a year ago, 2 years ago, 15 years ago. It's because as you grow, as you know better, you do better. So when you do this exercise, give yourself some grace. Remind yourself that you are here today because of what you've been through. You are the strong woman you are today, the overcomer. You have overcome so many adversities, and you're standing here today, strong. I would say confident, but I know many of you are like, well, I don't feel confident. I'm like, okay, well, that's why you need to get into Shine, so we can gain that confidence, because friend, you need to step into your confidence. You need to step into who God called you to be. And this, by trusting yourself and embracing your intuition, this is not just something that's nice to do. The more we understand how God wired us, how God made us, it's the easier for us to make decisions based on his calling, his purpose, what he wants for us, what he's planned for us. So look for evidence in your life. Go and you write it down. Give yourself some time, 30 minutes, and just write down some of the hardest things in your life, and then some of the best things in your life. And how did you know the direction you wanted to go? Did you not know, make a decision, and it worked out? And what did you use to make that decision? Is it just something like deep in your knower? And the knower, for, again, bringing in the Enneagram, my gut is my knower. Like, I know in my gut. I know in my the instinct. If you're in the heart, it's like, in your you feel it. And if you're in the head triad, you know that it's like in your brain, in your thoughts that this is true. So sit down, give yourself some time, and really ask yourself, what is the evidence in my life that I am an overcomer? What experiences have I been through where I knew what to do and I didn't do it, and I knew what to do and I did? So write those down. And again, you are such an amazing woman, an amazing person. Trust that you have a purpose, you have a calling, you are meant to be here. So whether you feel confident or not, God's confident in you, that he's confident that the world needed you, which is why you're here. So just embrace that for a moment. And so the next thing, some of our favorite things to do, silence and solitude. This part right here is not reading the Bible. This is not, you can sit and you can pray, but it is more of a sit and just let God speak to you. So opening it up and starting with a prayer, and really giving yourself that space. Take off your Apple Watch, take off your smartwatch, leave your phone in the other room, take away distractions. And with this, you don't actually need, it doesn't need to be hours It could be 10 minutes. Go outside and sit for 10 minutes in silence and solitude. This will help you actually start to hear what your gut, your heart, and your mind is saying. It will also give space for the Holy Spirit to come in and fill your gut, your heart, and your mind. So solitude and silence. The next one, spend time with Jesus. Spend time in the Word and spend time like intentionally pouring into what the Word is saying. I think I mentioned last episode that I was studying Hebrews, and one of the things, and I did, because one of the things that I said is that it mentioned how you should not bring in other people's thoughts until you figured out your thoughts. So when you spend time with Jesus and spend time with the Word, keep it clean. Keep the commentaries away. Keep the sermon notes away. And just ask God to reveal to you what it's saying. And this is part of renewing our mind. And we hide the Word so we can use it later. When we need that information, it will come back for us. So the next is being present in the moment. Focus on what you're doing when you're doing it. I love cooking. I love it so much. I don't always get to do it. I don't always get to enjoy it when I do it, but I love the fact that if I don't pay attention to the carrots or the celery or the, whatever I'm cutting, it doesn't get cut, right? Like I have a knife in my hand. I have to be intentional. Otherwise, they're all different sizes. I may have completely missed cutting them. But when I'm doing it, I'm focused on what I'm doing in the moment. When you do that, it doesn't mean everything else is turned off. It gives your brain the space to still work things out. I know I've mentioned before that our brain is, when we're at rest, when we're not actively doing our work, whatever our work is, our brain is only like 20% less active. So it's still working at 80% capacity. It's still figuring out that problem that you are trying to overcome. So don't worry about that. The fact is that when you're trying to understand and trust your intuition, you need to give yourself the time, space, margin to understand what you want, what your being has to say. So when you are practicing staying in the present moment, when you are focusing on what you're doing, it allows the hurt of the past or the information of the past and it's the fear of the future to dissipate. And you can really just focus on it's when we're trying to worry about the past, the present, and the future all at the same time, that is a lot going on. So when we shed that and we just focus on what you are doing, and I find now, because I intentionally, when I am cooking, I focus on cooking, on cutting, on stirring. It has allowed me to have so many breakthroughs. And then all of a sudden, like even a decision, I will know an answer just like that. It will come. And at that moment, I will go write it down, or I will put it in my voice memo, or it's so important, I'll go and just set everything down, turn it off, and go and take care of it. Or I recognize it was already within me and I don't need to fear that it won't come back. But the breakthroughs that happen when you are doing something completely, when you are focused on a simple action. So be present in the moment. The next is write down your thoughts. When you have a thought about something, get curious and write it down. The reason why we write it down is our brain processes it different. Also, a lot of times we're not willing to acknowledge Sometimes it's hard to um, really embrace what, like, we're kind of that fear takes over of when we write it out, when we speak it out, it becomes reality. Trust that just because you write it down doesn't make it true. And when you write it down and you see it, you can now look at it through a different lens, through a different mindset. You can actively process it in a different way, and you can make a decision easier. Also, you can decide in the moment, is that thought true or is it false? And your brain will give you evidence for it. The next is, this one again, do the other things first, but talk it through with wise counsel. Not someone, this person who you want to talk through it with needs to not offer advice, needs to ask clarifying questions, open-ended questions to allow you, because remember, the purpose is not to get someone else to tell us what's best for us. It's trusting that we already know what's best for us, that we are the experts on us, and God will give us insights on us when we get curious. So you want to find that wise counsel, but you don't want it to be someone who's going to give advice. You want it to be someone who will listen with active ears and with the sole intent is to hold space and give you that space and that margin to make the decision, and then to basically give you the confidence and boost that confidence and reinforce that you're doing the right thing. It doesn't matter what they think. What it matters is that they allow you to get out what you think. I hope that makes sense, because that's a really big distinction. Don't go to someone who's going to offer you a lot of advice. And there's times where I'll be talking to a friend and I was like, okay, listen, I don't want advice here. I really need to figure out what I want or what I need in this moment. And I have a friend in particular who will help. Sorry about that phone call. Who will take that, and she holds that, and together we've gotten better and better at just asking those questions. The last one is give yourself, again, common theme, give yourself some grace. Remind yourself that this is a muscle you're building. This is a lifelong practice, and we're not good at it right away. And there's times that we get knocked over and we need to go back to the beginning. I was doing Pilates 4 or 5 times a week for over a year. Then the schedules changed. The studio changed. All of a sudden it got really popular, and I could not get into classes. And when I went sporadically, I was not able to do what I could do when I was going every week, 5 days a week. I didn't have the strength. I didn't have the muscle memory that was needed. So I had to take it a little slower or make the weights a little less. And this is the same thing that's going to happen. There's going to be times in your life where you are riding high, and there's times that you're going to say, okay, I need to go back to the beginning, and I need to do the exercise of looking for evidence. The good thing is, if as you go through this, as you start to hone those skills, and as you write down your thoughts and you journal about this process, you won't ever start over again. You'll always starting from a fresh spot. You may slide a little bit, but it's always from a place of more wisdom and knowledge. But take small steps. Remind yourself you're building a muscle. You're creating a lifelong journey, a lifelong practice. So be easy on yourself, and then celebrate every win. If you acted on your intuition and it was wrong, go back and review. Celebrate the fact that you acted on your intuition, and then look at, okay, what did I not know? Sometimes there's situations, there's factors that we could never know. Sometimes we actually did not listen to that part of our brain, part of our heart, our part of our feelings that said, there's a warning here. Proceed with caution. So ask yourself that. Now, if you review and you realize, okay, I acted on my intuition and it worked, or I got to where I needed to go, celebrate that as well. So celebrate every step, because it's all, when you're doing a science experiment, when you're building a muscle, again, it takes time, it takes the reps, and you don't do it right the first time. So as we go, as you start to build this confidence in your intuition, as you build this strength muscle of knowing what you need and what you want, then you'll start to see how, though it's important to seek experts, and so many times we can go faster and we can go further when we have a partner with us, or we follow in the footsteps of someone else, but we can see how our path is different and incorporate our needs, our core values, our priorities, our skills, our strengths, even our weaknesses. We can start to take that into consideration. So I hope you're a little intrigued. I hope that you are excited about starting to do this. I would love to hear what you think about this. Like, what are your thoughts on trusting your intuition? Have you always trusted your intuition? Have you found it difficult to? Send me a DM on Instagram and let's chat about this. Also, as I mentioned, Shine. We're going to start diving specifically into this first stage of, we're going to talk about like what got us here so we can start building what we really want. So we can build the life through the lens of how God created us. This is not a place for me to tell you what to do. It's a space for you to discover what God's telling you. And we get to hang out and have fun and laugh all at the same time. So check out Shine. And I really hope that you enjoyed this. I know that I mentioned ER visit and lightning and an urgent care center. And you know what? I'm going to take 2 minutes. I'll take 2 minutes to just tell you that. So this may be a little bit longer. But so last week, so when things are, when you're on to something, when there's something, like when you're towards your God dream, right? There's always things that derail. There's things that get in the way. Life happens. There's always, there's something. It always happens, right? Something will derail us. Well, last week was, a doozy of a week. And we went from starting with my son, who he does have a heart issue. I'm not going to go into it. He's been followed since he's 3 months. He's never had a problem. He's not on medication. He has no limitations. Just here, these are the rules to follow, and you won't have any issues. We recently were, they modified the list of medications that he could take. He took an over-the-counter medicine for allergies, and it affected his heart. So we ended up in the ER. He is good, but that's how my week started, is that, and realizing, okay, no, you can't ever have any stimulants. So he's never had caffeine. That's something that he treats as an allergy because it affects his heart directly. So we dealt with that. He's good. He's fine. The next day, a storm comes that we were not expecting. It came out of, it's fall. So you got this cold, hot air. You know how all that works. And so we looked and we're like, oh, it's going to start raining soon. Well, our entire house popped. And then we heard lightning. Then we heard thunder, like bam, bam, bam. Our house was hit by lightning, or right outside of our house. So most of our small electronics fried. Our pool pump fried. Our pool is so green right now. And as we work on getting the pump and everything fixed, my computer fried. And it was on it was on a power surge. Um, Luckily, not everything was. Our big appliances, the things that add up enough to actually put an insurance claim, those were just fine. It's all the little things, so it's like it's not even worth putting in a claim on. But a few outlets here and there like have to be replaced. That was number two. Then the third thing is, because of the storm, we were sleeping with our window open. And so we had the windows open, and I woke up and I had some like bug bites on my leg. And crazy thing is, I woke up and there was like what I thought was a mosquito bite on my eye, like in the when you close your eye, like in between in there in your eye, right? Well, 2 days later, my face started swelling. And so I had to go to the urgent care center, and because it like got to the point where it was swollen. I mean, I took Benadryl. This day 1 and 2, I took Benadryl and treated it like a mosquito bite. Like, I did not scratch it. I was very careful, but it got nasty. Well, it got infected. I had blisters all over my eyes, which is why last week's podcast was only a audio. I did not do, and you can still see if you're looking. Oh, there we go. You can still see evidence of the last bit of it still healing, but I had blisters all over my eye to the point where my daughter's like, "Mom, I can't look at you. You're really triggering me right now." We joke about that, but she is 13. But yeah, it was gross, and my whole face like got swollen and stuff. It was crazy. We are all better now. And with that to say, sometimes we have to put things aside. We have to stay focused on what's important, and we have to let things fall to take care of the task at hand. One thing that I do in my coaching and in Shine, and when I work with people, is I let them know that this is all part of life. We don't have our productivity and then our self-care and then our family. We are one person. And we have to look at ourselves as a whole being in order to thrive, in order to feel the full weight of joy. So with all of those things, and it was one of those moments, it's like, okay, God, where do I need to step back? And I made a few changes this week to focus on, getting things fixed and making sure Isaac's good and healing my eye, which was the weirdest thing. And now, like the last 3 days, I have made more progress. I stayed focused and I allowed the things to happen around me, and I stayed focused in the present moment, not worrying about what was coming. And I had some really big decisions decided for me. Like I found the answers. I was able to sit with God long enough to actually hear him and realize that he's been talking to me the whole time. And so when you're doing this is not easy work. It's simple, but not easy. We don't like to sit with our own thoughts, and everything in this world is telling us to not do it. Everything in this world is telling us that we need to numb out by looking at our phones. We need to watch TV. We need to read a book. We need to have someone else tell us what the next step is. When so many times, really what we need is to sit still and trust. So friend, if you're ready to start this journey of sitting still and trusting, if you want to start building that muscle of trusting your intuition, embracing your confidence, stepping into who God created you to be in all its glory, all your strengths, all your weaknesses, all your talents, all your gifts, all your experiences, your story matters. And if you want to know how to use it to create an impact, you can impact your family, you can impact your kids, your friends, your community, your church, whatever impact God has for you. And I do believe everyone has an impact, and it doesn't matter the size of the impact. I think the size is that's determined by God. We can't see the depth of it by looking at the size. So it doesn't matter if it's just, and I hear air quotes, that you want to guide and you want to impact your kids in a deeper way. It has a ripple effect that goes deep. So if you're ready to say no more to this being busy for busy's sake, no more just like going through managing life, and you want to experience it, you want to be able to say yes and no to things that are important. You want to stop focusing on the urgent and be able to say yes to the important. Contact me. Let's talk. Get into Shine. Let's do this together. Let's start and make it easy, make it simple, and do the real work of discovering who God created us to be in the first place. Remove all of those layers of things that we put on because it looks good, or because we thought we were supposed to do it, or because they asked for help, so we said yes, even though we know it's not in our gifting to help in this way. Friend, I know that you know deep in your heart what's best for you and your family. I want to help guide you on discovering what that is. So with that, I hope that you'll join me in Shine. I hope that you'll take a step forward, because saying yes to yourself and saying yes to this opportunity is also saying yes to the God dream that's inside you. All right, with that, friend, choose joy until joy chooses you. Bye for now.